Kim Hyun-woo is stuck in the tutorial tower, and now, while all the other newcomers run from the final boss in fear, he's bored. He already defeated this Balrog hundreds of times, and now wants to play. He brings the boss to the ground in seconds and defeats him with his 1 foot, mocking him and asking who's the most manly boss here. Still, this win doesn't give Hyun-woo any satisfaction because after this, he returns to the first level of the tower again. It all started one day when monsters appeared all over the world, and along with them appeared a huge tutorial tower where humans can gain superpowers and become hunters, but only if they can survive and clear all 100 floors. On average, less than 10% of players manage to clear it all. Hyun-woo is one of the first players who enter the tower. Together, they fight bravely, and after the final battle ends, our hero's party receives the long-awaited notification. The tutorial tower is cleared. Everyone is overjoyed because this means they will finally be able to return home. After a long time inside the tower, Kim Hyun-woo wants to see clear sky above, but fate has other plans for him, and instead he gets teleported back to the first floor. He's shocked and doesn't understand what's going on. Why is he stuck here when everyone else is free? That's when he receives a notification that he has been cursed by the tower and cannot leave it. After a period of denial and anger, Hyun-woo starts clearing the tower again and again. He starts to explore possible ways that could set him free. He clears the tower solo from beginning to end. Then he clears it 10 times in a row. He even strengthens his body to the limit, but even after completing all of that, nothing works. He is still trapped. Hyun-woo continues clearing the tower repeatedly, hoping to find a way to break the curse. Time passes, and he spends years inside this place, clearing it thousands of times. While new players take months to finish the tower, our boy can complete it in a day or even a few hours. Eventually, he becomes so bored that he tries acting like an NPC guiding newcomers, or like a coach, or even playing wicked games with the final boss. But that becomes boring too. So, Hyun-woo keeps clearing the tower solo, mastering all his skills to their absolute limits. It gets to the point where with a single kick on floor 1, he can literally blast through 10 floors. After 12 long years in the tower, he finally gets a system notification. He has broken a loop and now can escape from the tower. Laughing like a maniac, he launches forward to clear the tower one last time. He shoots upward like a missile, crushing floors in his path. He's the real boss of the tower now. Even the monsters fear him. On the final floor, Hyun-woo destroys the boss and the entire rooftop of the tower, then steps into the portal that finally sends him outside. He can't contain his joy and screams like crazy. He's finally free. Meanwhile, the authorities observing the tower are shocked when they discover that a player from the very first group summoned into the tower in 2006 has finally escaped after 12 years. A few weeks later, our boy is invited to the evaluation test for new hunters who have just cleared the tower. Among the guild leaders sponsoring the trial are his old teammates, the ones who cleared the tower with him for the very first time. All of them are eager to see what kind of monster Hyun-woo has become after 12 years inside the tower. At the waiting room of the great evaluation test taker, everyone is already with their basic equipment. Meanwhile, our boy is busy eating snacks. Once his stomach is filled, he wonders what this equipment is. This is when he realizes that he didn't get any of them because he fell asleep earlier while the other guys got them in the morning. Right then, the announcement takes place for soon-to-be hunters to get out of the waiting room and go to the location where the test will take place. Now at the Seoul Tutorial Center Grade Evaluation Maze, David, an A-grade hunter, welcomes all the junior hunters, informing them all that the evaluation test has begun and he will be their supervisor. The supervisor reminds them all that the world is watching them right now. With a grin, he assures all the hunters to not worry, since compared to the tutorial tower, this exam is simple. While David states that he is looking forward to seeing all the hunters' potential as they risk their lives in the tutorial tower, Hyun-woo is literally yawning, not listening to a single word. Right then, the supervisor announces that the first exam is beginning. At that very moment, he taps something on his phone. Instantly, the ground begins to tremble. Alternatively, David explains that there are different kinds of difficult situations that they have to go through as a hunter, but one of them is the maze. The moment these words leave his mouth, dangerous and huge metal rods fall from above, slamming into the ground and forming an actual maze. David instructs all the hunters that this maze has many traps. Though it is a move-in notification, it will be good if they utilize their abilities fully. Just then, a 30-second countdown begins, signaling that the exam will start as soon as the timer reaches 0. The hunters have to use their abilities and escape to the exit of the maze. The moment the countdown ends, all the hunters rush towards the entrance. The supervisor observing this smiles, as all the hunters this time are very well-mannered, and by looking at their appearance, the thought of his own first grade exam comes up. He reflects on the most important thing, which is for the hunters to keep the original resolution. At that moment, the hero is still standing at the starting point, left behind while everyone else rushes ahead. He calls out to the supervisor, whom he nonchalantly calls uncle, and confirms if he really has to reach the exit somehow. Upon hearing it, David frowns, judges our boy for his pathetic appearance, and wonders where his provided equipment is. When he notices Hyunwoo yawning, he is startled because is this how newcomers act? At this point, David starts to doubt whether this guy is even taking the exam seriously. Curious, the supervisor asks the protagonist if he finds these hunter exams trivial. Smirking and emphasizing the word uncle, Hyunwoo suggests the supervisor act like this in front of the noisy guy who uses all their willpower to run. These words make David livid, but the hero grins and makes a bet with him. He'll clear the whole thing within 20 seconds, and if he does, he will get 100,000 won. David is taken aback by these words, but he is egoistic, so he agrees with it, confessing that his 1 day's pay and the overtime allowance as a supervisor is 1 million won. Rushing towards the entrance, the hero warns David to not change his mind later. Now, in front of the entrance wall, Hyunwoo places his hand, being shocked that the supervisor is getting such great pay. While thinking this, he gathers all his energy in his arm. Everyone, including David and the top guild leaders of South Korea, who are watching the exam from the observation screen, wonders what our boy is doing near the wall. Before they can understand it, the protagonist punches the wall. The intensity is so much that it literally creates a hole in the whole maze, and smoke covers the entire place. Within a few seconds, as the smoke settled, our guy was standing at the exit on the opposite side. It was obviously a forcibly made exit, but he literally confirmed with the supervisor that they have to reach the exit anyhow. Everyone goes crazy witnessing this. They are more surprised by his grade measurement. The top guild leaders of South Korea are amazed, but also kind of pissed by our boy's stubbornness. In contrast, Hyunwoo is on cloud 9 as he has won 1 million, but his face twists with panic when he looks behind him and sees the destruction he has caused. He wonders if the authority will be asking for its compensation. 24 hours before the Hunter rank assessment competition, at the Live Hunter's office, Jun-sung has confirmed the list of contestants participating in the test. Though her colleague wonders aloud if they can expect anything from the test this time, Sung understands immediately he meant the gossip about the advanced hunter. However, finding information about him is pretty hard. Other than our boy, a guy who is a backup hunter and was trained in the traditional martial arts world is coming too. Since it was not confirmed if the advanced hunter will come, they have this traditional martial artist, Kang Hyun, as the backup. Kang Hyun is a guy who has many abilities and skills, so luck is always on his side. With his weapon, he easily knocks out deadly creatures. Right from the start, Kang Hyun has gotten too much attention and respect as he has always been successful. But this is what he thought until he encountered Hyunwoo. This guy met the hero when he was clearing the tutorial tower one last time to escape this hole. Though Kang was able to get back safely, he understood how pathetic he was. Since our boy was being so wild that he pushed everyone who came in his way, including Kang Hyun, as he was so desperate to get out. Going back to the present, the first exam was successful for Kang. Now, everyone is requested to go back to the waiting room and stay there until another announcement is made. Simultaneously, at the observation room, all the onlookers were curious as they wanted to see how our guy actually destroyed the place. The authorities are pretty annoyed as they want to see a clear picture as well, but whenever they take a clear picture, it is always Lee Kang's. In the waiting area, all the hunters are talking about the current situation. Rumor has already been spread that it has been done by the advanced player. Kang Hyun is also sitting here, being aware that the exam is not over yet, so he still has a chance to see Hyunwoo's performance. Though he vows to himself to not lose to our boy, who is literally so sleepy that it feels like he has done drugs or something. An announcement echoes in the waiting area, stating that the order of events for today's ranking contest has been changed. The competition will restart in 15 minutes, and all participants are advised to get ready for the next round. Now, the assessment event includes a monster wave. By using virtual training monsters created by combining spirit stones from monsters and the latest technology, the goal is to evaluate how many monsters are defeated by the junior hunters in a given time. It is true that Kang is a very skilled hunter, as he is very focused on knocking out the monsters. With infusing bolting light in his weapon, he strikes at the creatures, defeating them effortlessly. All the observers are shocked to see this because this guy just escaped the tower, but already has magical abilities. They all realize that a genius is surrounding them, and it is all unreal. Not stopping for a single moment, this martial artist continuously uses a series of electricity streams and defeats all the monsters who come his way. As the time gets up, it is announced that Kang has killed 78 monsters. This is by far the highest score achieved by an examinee to date. That being said, Kong proudly smiles while everyone else is impressed by his combat and magic skills, believing that he is worthy of his reputation as a top candidate. People believe that even earlier, he would have finished first if the advanced player didn't pull that move. Now, it is our boy's turn to face the monster wave. Yawning, Hyunwoo states how tired he is of all of this, but obviously, he has no other choice. The top guild leader, Co Kwan Han, suggests the other two guild leaders come and watch this, as he wants to see how Hyunwoo's fighting style has evolved. Upon entering the exam venue, Hyunwoo is given a time of 120 seconds, and the exam begins now. The 10-second countdown starts before the exam begins. The moment the countdown ends, the giant beast raises its hammer-like weapon to attack our boy. Unfazed, Hyunwoo remains at his place, and in that instant, uses his strong fist to knock out the monster. Everyone's jaw drops after catching sight of this. The authorities confirm if the cameraman got on the camera, because it is pure cinema. Seeing this, the other deadly creatures get angry, and they lunge towards our boy, roaring and shrieking. However, they don't get the chance to harm even a single hair on the hero's body because he knocks them all out with the same earlier technique. Now 56 seconds are remaining, but to everyone's surprise, the advanced player has disappeared while the monsters' heads are blowing up by themselves. All the observers wonder if this is a magic spell or something. Though Co Kwan thinks that it is not a magic spell or something, because if they look closely, they can see the silhouette of a person moving as fast as the speed of light around the monsters. Hyunwoo just runs up to the monster, punches it, and defeats it. Just like that, he finds a new target and repeats the same action. Our boy is not using any high-level skill, but is moving so quickly that it looks like the monsters are blowing up by themselves. Co Yun Lee is awestruck, wondering aloud if such movements are even possible without enhancement, while Sure Hyun Kim is puzzled about what the protagonist has been up to in the tower. Whenever Haein heard any rumors, he always ignored them, but seeing him in person makes them all realize that Hyunwoo has become a real beast. After 120 seconds, the announcer stutters. But once he announces that Hyunwoo has killed 248 monsters, this news goes viral. It is literally trending everywhere. Some people are questioning whether the video is even real, while others are amazed by it. A few can't hide their jealousy. In short, social media turns into complete chaos. Seeing all the tweets and posts, Kong literally breaks his phone in half. Enraged, he punches the wall with such force that cracks instantly spread across it. Kong states that he worked so hard and even pushed himself to hunt, even when others were being lazy. Additionally, he stole people's kills knowing they would hate him. He literally used all the cheap tricks and struggled so much. Thus, he can't digest the fact that Hyunwoo is going viral worldwide. Pressing forward, Alice, who works as the chief of the Korean Hunter Association Information Division, meets the protagonist face-to-face. She hands him the list of guilds that want to meet him. With that, Alice congratulates our boy for getting out of the tower after 12 years. In addition to that, she explains to the hero that many things have changed since the tower first appeared. Elaborating, she informs that the monsters that originate from labyrinths and dungeons are very scary. But with great risks come great rewards. And because the Hunters Guild is interested in recruiting talented hunters, they will be rewarded with large prizes. At the same time, Hyunwoo is not listening to a damn word, thinking in his heart about what to have in his next meal. Alice, not being aware of this, assumes that our boy is confused. However, the protagonist asks her if explaining all this is a part of her job. Giving him a warm smile, Alice confesses that she came here for personal reasons. She wanted to meet the advanced player that everyone was talking about. Also, she wanted to share Aries' guild contract regarding a member's rights and duties, revised edition. She suggests our guy read the contract clause regarding the signing bonus. Puzzled, Hyunwoo reads the first clause, which states that once both parties have signed the membership agreement, the member will be receiving a huge amount. Sweat trickles down the protagonist's face as he glances at Alice. Meanwhile, the woman asks the boy how he would feel to hold a contract worth 10 billion won. Hyunwoo looks at Alice with uncertainty, questioning when their currency's value dropped so drastically and if the country had gone through hyperinflation like Zimbabwe. Just then, Alice explains that things were pretty messed up because of monsters, but there were no financial issues. Though the prices of land increased, she informs him that the price of the place where he lived has also changed. Right then, she hands him the details. Hyunwoo's eyes widen with surprise because his house's value got raised from 3 million won to 1.3 billion won. The look of nausea on his face makes Alice realize that this guy is worrying about his finances. Thus, she assures him that he shouldn't worry about all of that, as the 10 billion won is just a signing bonus. The information officer mentions that Aries Guild is agreeing to pay him 2 times the current signing bonus only if he renews with them at the end of this contract. Finding it unbelievable, the hero's face turns pale. Meanwhile, Alice continues explaining that he will be sharing the spoils he acquires in the labyrinth with the guild. However, he will understand that the distribution ratio is in his favor. Grinning, Hyun-woo confirms with Alice if guild contracts are also a part of her role as an information officer. Alice admits that she has some personal relations, and the recruiter from the Aries Guild insisted she share this with Hyun-woo. However, deep down, the protagonist recalls that it is illegal to make contract offers to people still housed by the association. At that very moment, Alice is about to assure him to take time to decide, but Hyun-woo interrupts her, clarifying that he has made up his mind and was never planning to join any guild as he knows that no guild interests him. At first, the information officer thinks that the protagonist is joking, but Hyun-woo is very clear that he doesn't want to get tied up by a guild or its activities. He is very well aware that these 10 billion wouldn't be given to him for fun, as this world runs on the rule of give and take. Obviously, when he gets the signing bonus, he will be given tons of things. Now lying on his bed, Hyun-woo chuckles after having all his snacks. He loves living like this and doing things according to his own rules and ways. While chilling, he gets a flashback of Alice asking him if he has no interest in being a hunter. Hyun-woo explains that he heard about hunters who work alone. Hearing that, the information officer realizes that he is talking about mercenary hunters, though she reveals that those guys have already taken the experience of working in guilds, and it is impossible for an inexperienced hunter to venture alone in a labyrinth. With pride, Hyun-woo began to leave, assuring her that he will do it. Calling him arrogant, Alice tells him to keep in mind to contact her after he changes his mind. Back in reality, Hyun-woo thinks that meeting Alice was a waste of time. He could have used that time to get some much-needed sleep instead. All those thoughts annoy him so much that he cannot sleep now. Hence, Hyun-woo goes through the list of guilds that want to meet him. The protagonist finds it a waste of time, but then he gets shocked when he sees the names of the top 3 guild leaders of South Korea in that list. 5 days later, on the final day of the protection period for new hunters, our boy meets Seo Kwon, Seo Yun, and Sher Hyun at a Japanese restaurant in the Mokdong neighborhood. It has been so long that the hero is way too surprised to see them all grown up. While Seo Kwon feels like a grown-up man to him, the high school nerd Sher Hyun has turned into a good-looking guy. On the other hand, Seo Yun has completely changed, too. Looking at Sher Hyun, our boy recalls that he is the same guy who cowered behind his back all the way to the 50th floor, while Seo Yun peed her pants when she saw Banshee. However, the girl activated her beast mode, warning our guy to not utter any more words. Enjoying sushi, Hyun-woo admits that it is nice meeting them. Also, he loves the taste of his food. That being said, Sher Hyun reminds him of the time when they defeated the merman on the 17th floor, and Hyun-woo went on and on about how much he missed eating sushi. By now, the protagonist recalls all of it. This was the time when our boy went all berserk. The 3 of them explained that whenever the urban legends about him leaked outside, they all were happy that he was alive. Unaware about all of it, Hyun-woo asked for the details. Thus, they explain that our guy has become a celebrity, and whatever he has done in the tower was all mentioned on TV. Upon receiving this information, sweat trickles down Hyun-woo's face with embarrassment since he realizes that his role-playing was revealed in front of everyone. The protagonist wonders which one specifically was on TV. He just hopes it is not the one where he cleared the dungeon in the nude, or when he cleared the dungeon pretending to be a golem. Though the guild leaders inform him that the most famous ones are when he went around defeating bosses while doing a weird dance and smashing his way through 10 floors with one kick. While Hyun-woo gets a little relieved hearing this, Sher Hyun is genuinely curious about what his friend was up to in the tower. Hyun-woo recalls dancing in front of the boss monster. Even a monster stood there dumbfounded, but our boy just wanted to try it in order to escape the place. Also, when it came to breaking through 10 floors, he got so frustrated that he simply jumped as high as he could, and that's how he ended up there. Seo Yun admits that watching him at the assessment made her realize how much power he has gotten. And after hearing these stories directly from him, there's no doubt. However, Hyun-woo believes that anyone could have done it, because once someone gets trapped in a place, they do anything to get out of there. Though, the hero then realizes that his students must have gotten out as well. It is true that he has no idea which generation they are from, but it was when he was between floors 50 and 60, someone was left behind in the tower. When Hyun-woo sensed some presence, he searched around and found a kid. With his role-playing skills, he decided to guide the lost soul. At that particular time, Hyun-woo was fixated on the idea of martial arts. Thus, he took the kid under his wing and trained him. At first, Seo Kwon is confused. So the protagonist explains that he is talking about when someone is trapped somewhere, but becomes enlightened and escapes, just like the stuff in comics and novels. Hyun-woo thought if he gets enlightened, then maybe he will escape. As a result of it, he literally trained him and pushed all his limits. The protagonist made him work out and mocked and taunted him for stopping. He used to tell the guy to focus his mind on his lower abdomen to bring out his inner energy. However, The thing Hyunwoo was aware of was strength only. So now that he thinks of it, he feels bad for that guy. Hyunwoo doesn't reveal it, but back then he was an actual jerk. So he is relieved that he wore a mask all that time, as he doesn't want to run into that guy once again. Just then, the hero asks all 3 top guild leaders about how the world has been for the past 12 years. Hearing the questions, everyone falls silent. Back at his place, Hyunwoo checks his status window, noticing that his age is mentioned as 24 instead of 36, making him realize that he actually lost 12 years in this world. Now that it is done, it cannot be changed. So our boy decides to earn a decent amount of money and live life happily with no regrets. Although his gaze darts at the floating message of the endless loop being removed. Curious, Hyunwoo presses that option. Right then, he gets a notification to defeat at least 3 dungeon bosses to satisfy the minimum requirements to move on to the next level. The dungeon conquest objective includes Adorb's laboratory, Woodland Village, and Swamp View. Before Hyunwoo could understand what the hell was going on, he heard a knock on his door. Upon opening the door, the security guard greets our boy, informing him that there are some recruiters from the Ares Guild who have come to meet him. Not being interested, the hero refuses the guard, but looking worried, the guard requests him to come with him as the recruiter instructed the poor man to bring Hyunwoo. It is pretty obvious that these guys won't stop until Hyunwoo makes it clear to them. So he heads for the lounge on the first floor, as that is where they are waiting. Byung-ho Kong, the Ares Guild Human Resources Manager, greets our boy, but instead of beating around the bush, the protagonist reminds him that he is way too clear about having no intention to join any guild. However, the Resources Manager of Ares Guild challenges Hyunwoo if he really believes he will be a successful hunter without this guild. Byung-ho tries to tempt him by reminding him of all the things he will get once he joins the guild. Not being afraid, the hero suggests the manager not threaten him. The bodyguard standing behind Byung-ho grows angry at such arrogant behavior, but Byung-ho quickly stops him before he can react, suggesting Hyunwoo not do anything reckless as he has no idea who the Ares Guild is. Smirking, our boy acknowledges that they are a bunch of jerks that gobbled up half of Korea. Right then, Hyunwoo gets a flashback of the meeting with the top 3 guild leaders of South Korea. They already informed our guy that the Ares Guild has a monopoly on over 66% of their country's dungeon. Among them are A-rank dungeons ideal for farming and beginner-friendly D-rank ones. They've heard the place is backed by foreign capital with plenty of money to spend. Additionally, for a beginner to get experience and for a professional to earn, they have to either purchase the expensive admission ticket or be an Ares member. Basically, this guild is forcing people as they know that the people here don't have much of a choice. His thoughts are interrupted when the bodyguard slams his hand on the table. The intensity of the force is so much that bright energy envelopes the room. At that moment, Byung-ho warns our guy to not run his mouth just because they are at the association residence and tells him to think very carefully about this proposal. The baldy bodyguard who slammed his hand on the table slams it on the wall, while the resources manager makes Hyunwoo understand that he needs to grasp the situation as this bodyguard's overall stats are enough to make him a great hunter. Thus, he suggests the hero not make any rash decisions because he would be dead in front of this guy. Sighing with a grin and standing up, our boy raises his slipper and challenges the baldy to come to him since he is ready to knock some sense into his bald head. This insult makes the Hulk angry and he charges forward, but he is slammed on the wall within seconds, unable to move. Witnessing this, Byung-ho recalls that they all literally made a script to threaten our guy and make him so demotivated as to make him sign a contract, but everything went wrong. Standing there, the resources manager is shocked because Hyunwoo cannot even use magic, but still he has unmatchable strength. With a sly smirk, our boy approaches Byung-ho and corners him. Just then, with his torn slipper, he smacks the bully, clarifying that he hates those people who threaten him. That night, at Shurhyun's place, Hyunwoo spills the tea. Though the guild leader is impressed, he is a little taken aback, too, because these Ares guys are relentless and no one dares to pick a fight with them. Shurhyun informs the protagonist that they send threats to prevent him from joining other guilds. Also, they can silence him inside the labyrinth. While having strawberries, Hyunwoo wonders what being silent means. Shurhyun elaborates that they will kill him. The hero finds it brutal. Thus, the guild leader suggests he join his guild considering whatever has been happening. Still, Hyunwoo is not okay with joining any guild. Though it is true that he wants to take it easy, right now he has to take care of something, so he decided to put a hold on it for a while. Additionally, with a grin, he asks Shurhyun if by any chance he heard of Adron's laboratory. For the whole 12 years, it was a mystery why Hyunwoo was the one who was left behind for 12 years. He had so many questions. Who made this tower? Who locked him up? And what not? Hence, his aim is to find out the tower's secret and who locked him there, because once he finds that out, he will make them suffer. Alternatively, Hyun wonders why Hyun-woo is interested in Acheron's laboratory all of a sudden. Hyun reveals that Acheron's laboratory is either an AC or an AC- rank dungeon based in Wajongbu. In addition to that, he also heard that it is a good place for new hunters to grow powerful. Out of curiosity, Hyun demands to know the reason behind this interrogation, but our boy doesn't reveal the entire truth, confessing that he has some business there. Though, Hyun gives him a heads up that he probably won't be allowed there, as the Ares Guild is abusing their exclusive rights to the dungeons, and Aduron is one of those dungeons. Receiving this piece of information, Hyun-woo gets way too frustrated by these thugs because why are there no laws to prevent monopolies? The guild leader reminds the hero that the government has no time for all since hunters hold no real voting power. Only a small number of people ever clear the tutorial tower to become one. The dungeons are so dangerous that even the police can't investigate properly, often labeling the deaths that occur there as accidents. Hyun-woo finds it all crap, but on a surface level, Ares is the leader of a rising industry that contributes a healthy amount of taxes, and any situation involving hunters is too delicate for outside powers to interfere. At this point, the protagonist decides to sneak in, and if there is proper guarding going on, then he will face them head-on. Hyun warns him that if he does something stupid, Ares will become his enemy. But it is too late to think about all of that, as our boy already showed his colors to the resources manager of that guild. On the flip side, Seo Hook, an S-rank hunter and manager of the Korean branch of the Ares Guild, is discussing the expansion of the guild. In China, it will take at least 5 months. In Russia, it will take 8 months. And as for Japan, 7 months. Seo doesn't care if it is time-taking, as what matters is that they stay one step ahead of the pack. Just like when a farming monster kills, you don't have to be faster than the dungeon boss, just faster than the person next to you. With that, the manager's men hand him Hyun-woo's stat level. They used footage of our boy's movement in the tutorial zone to produce an estimate of his levels using a trial analytical device. Byung-yu, head of the Human Resources Department of Ares Guild, explains that he had his doubts, but the department's analysis shows the margin of error should be no more than a single grade difference. That being said, Seo asks if they have recruited this guy, but seeing the hesitation in his men's faces, he understands that they failed to do that. In that instant, he announces that they are better off without that guy. He acknowledges that he's a guy with great capabilities and they will earn many profits with Hyun-woo's presence. But that guy would be coming after their positions, so they should forget about recruiting him and instead teach him some manners. Right then, a man runs towards Byung-yu panting heavily, informing him that there is an emergency at the Aduron laboratory in Wajongbu, Kayambo Mountain. At the entrance to Acheron's laboratory, a C-rank dungeon, a girl in a tempting way begs the guys guarding the place to let her in, but these thugs suggest she go to the labyrinth as those have low-level monsters. At first, the thugs claim that they are guys of rules, but then they start creeping up. At that exact moment, our guy approached them. The thugs warn him to leave, informing him that this place is not for passing time, as this place has real and scary monsters. Getting near these thugs, our boy tells them that this is exactly why he's here. He has some business to take care of inside this dungeon. The Ares Guild thug calls our hero crazy for calling him an idiot. Hyun-woo silently picks up his slippers to teach the players a lesson for being so rude. Smiling, he walks closer to one of them. The man bursts into anger and tries to tell him that he belongs to the Ares Guild. However, our protagonist doesn't care about any guild. He takes his slipper, and with just a simple strike, the man flies into the wall. Seeing his fellow knocked out cold, the other fighter starts panicking. Our protagonist asks the other one for his shoes. The man gets confused, and Hyun threatens to open his eyes too. The man, trembling in fear, complies. As soon as our protagonist wears the new shoes, he's amazed by how light the metal shoes are. The Ares Guild player cries about having lost his expensive shoes made with magic. However, our generous hero, after seeing the man's bare feet, gives him his slippers and walks out. Our hero walks through the gate, and the Ares thugs are left crying. Meanwhile, Seo screams at Hyun for letting our protagonist just go. But Hyun explains that he had no choice because Hyun-woo just walked out freely. She starts panicking, worrying about the ruthless Ares Guild. Hyun explains he told our hero about that. But he just went out, and no one can actually stop him. Seo is left speechless and asks Hyun if our hero has really made enemies with the Ares Guild. From what our hero told him, Hyun is sure about the rivalry now. Hyun doesn't think that Hyun-woo is the kind of person who'd end up in trouble by just staying still. However, once he becomes someone's enemy, as long as the enmity is there, Hyun-woo's twisted side will come out. Hyun doesn't understand how things got complicated, but he assures Seo that she doesn't need to worry about her hero, because when they were talking about the Ares Guild, Hyun-woo's ranking came up. However, Seo is left speechless when Hyun tells her about her hero's ranking. Meanwhile, Our hero continues his journey through the dungeon, and suddenly, a monster starts searching for his research materials. The C-rank dungeon boss, Aduron, continues looking for more research samples. Some fighters observe him from the distance, talking about the rumor that people don't earn much by fighting Aduron, which is why the Ares Guild didn't bother fighting him. The fighters start thinking if they should really fight the boss. Since they got in by bribing, one of them suggests fighting him. However, the girl wonders if their abilities can even match the lab boss, because usually people fight as a guild. The other guy adds that he noticed that Aduron had high defense power and low attack power. So, he suggests taking time to defeat the boss. With a workable strategy, the group decides to go. They unify to go against the boss, but also make it clear to escape once there is danger. Right then, they see our hero walk in to face Aduron. Hyunwoo stand before the lab boss fearlessly. Aduron starts laughing, thinking about where to start on his research subject, and decides to ask our hero instead. 12 years ago, when our hero was young, his cousin told him to not make trouble and advised him to listen to his teacher. He left little Hyunwoo at an orphanage after his parents' death in an accident and stole his inheritance. Maybe it's because of his disappointment in people that Hyunwoo is okay until someone tries to manipulate him. Once someone becomes his enemy, he'd bring out his worst side and hold a grudge for a long time. Aduron starts playing with his needle, laughing about where to start from. He asks our hero where to start from, but Hyunwoo orders him to stop. The lab boss is shocked to see a mere human order him, but then our hero punches the monster, leaving the group behind shocked. The monster falls, and our hero walks out like a boss. With the Uteran's lab mission completed, our hero heads out for the forest village next. The hunter group watching from behind recognizes Hyunwoo as the advanced player, and seeing him in person like that just gives them goosebumps. Meanwhile, at the Ares Guild Korean branch, the HR manager visits the manager at the Korea Management Department, Woo Chun-myung. He hands over a file to Chun-myung and asks if the branch manager, Hyuk Sun-woo, has given them any instructions. The manager reads the file, and seeing the 2 A-rank stats on a rookie hunter's file makes him wonder if the stats are accurate. The HR answers that the results aren't fully accurate and it's just a temporary analysis. Even then, Chun-myung can't help but be impressed by our hero's monster-like stats. The HR tells the manager that the order is to only moderately hurt Hyunwoo, but doing more wouldn't be a problem. The manager knows the extra instructions are the HR's wish, but the HR explains how our hero jumped into their exclusive dungeon and attacked the hunters protecting the dungeon at that time. Chun-myung assures his fellow manager that our hero will not even put a scratch on their guild. However, he wants to take care of things quietly because the branch manager already has a lot to deal with due to their advancement in China. On top of all that, even the management is supportive of these actions due to the Tyrant Guild. The new Tyrant Guild in China, in their 2 years of establishment, has monopolized 52% of all dungeons in China. Just 4 years after coming out of the tower, their guild leader grew Tyrant into a giant guild, and every single one of the leaders is known to be monstrously strong. The most surprising part is that the identity of the Tyrant Guild's leader, who is officially listed as 5th among the S-rank world rankings, remains a mystery to the public. Chun-myung assures the HR manager to not worry about Hyunwoo. He adds that because of having to deal with the Tyrant Guild, they don't have the manpower to waste, so they will send experts to cause him some moderate damage. Meanwhile, Hyunwoo checks out the phone's camera and is impressed by the technological developments of the world. He then takes a picture of his friend and starts playing with the phone. Sure, Hyun is annoyed seeing our hero play with the phone that he got him for contact. But then he tells our hero that the forest village is managed by the Soul Guild. Our hero continues to play on his phone without paying any attention to his friend until he mentions that there's no monster at the forest village. Sure, Hyun explains that they defeated the monster there a while ago. He explains that things here are different from the tutorial tower. At the tower, the boss or normal monsters would respawn on a daily basis. However, in the dungeons, the normal monsters appear endlessly no matter how many times they are killed. But once the boss monster is killed, it takes a while till our hero is shocked to learn that it will take a month for the forest village boss to respawn. But then Sure Hyun adds that they defeated the boss 4 weeks ago, so it should only take 2 to 3 more days. Hyunwoo then asks about the visible swamp, and Sure Hyun answers that he doesn't know much about that dungeon because it's controlled by the Ares Guild. Our hero feels frustrated that he needs to worry about so much stuff just to kill a monster. Then, Sure Hyun asks our hero when he will register in the Hunters Association. At first, Hyunwoo paid no attention to it, but then he jumps in excitement when Sure Hyun explains all the perks, including money. He suddenly jumps hearing that he can get paid just by registering. But Sure Hyun explains that he needs to do something in 2 to 3 months. He adds that B ranks get over 1 million, A ranks get 2.5 million, and then there's a huge gap between A and S ranks. After hearing that Hyun gets 7 million every month, our hero is shocked and hurries to register himself right away. The next morning, our hero heads to the Hunters Association Ability Evaluation Center to register himself. When he tells his name, the receptionist recognizes him as the person who was stuck in a tower for 12 years. He remembers all the people coming in to ask about our hero. However, the receptionist thinks there's nothing exceptional about our protagonist, and people are just making a fuss for no reason. After checking everything, he points Hyun-woo to the Eye of the Seeker. Hyun-woo's rank status will appear on the hologram next to the eye, revealing his hunter rank. He places his hand on the eye. The receptionist estimates that he might be B+ at best. However, his jaw drops when the rank is revealed. Seeing his pale face, our hero turns towards the hologram and gets shocked himself. Suddenly, the receptionist screams echo through the whole building. Soon enough, our hero becomes the hot topic of the news, talking about his unbelievable assessment results. They gossip about all his A's and the fact that no one in the world has that score. Reading the news on his phone, Hyun-woo is surprised to see the news of his evaluation spread out in just a few hours. Hyun explains that advanced players are a hot topic, and ever since he turned everything upside down at the Ares Guild dungeon, everyone has been keeping an eye on them. Hyun knows our hero doesn't care about any of that, but he knows that the Ares Guild has already gathered information and won't leave him alone after messing with their territory. He advises our hero to be careful, worried that his enemies won't stop chasing him, but he fails to listen. Suddenly, Hyun-woo bursts into laughter, seeing a loading screen picture on his phone. He laughs about the ridiculous pose and the aura effect on the hunter's photo. But then, Hyun answers calmly that the hunter in the photo is him. Suddenly, an awkward silence fills the room. Then, our hero asks his friend why he's always hanging out with him when their other friends are always busy. Hyun answers that he's also busy, but he deliberately takes out time from his routine to hang out with our hero. Meanwhile, at the Ares Guild's management branch basement, the HR's face turns pale, seeing our hero's assessment results. Chun Myung now understands why the branch manager wants them to deal with our hero. But seeing the HR's pale face, he assures him that Hyun-woo will be dealt with by the Shinchun gang. The HR's face lifts up after hearing that the hunter soon reaching S rank in China will be taking care of his opponent, and he now feels confident that his problem will be dealt with. Meanwhile, at the village forest, our hero is confused, seeing no guards at the dungeon. Hyun reveals that the dungeon is owned by his guild. With the clock striking 12, the boss is about to spawn, and our hero and his friends head inside. However, as they walk in, another man keeps spying on them from a distance. At the village forest dungeon, a new guy, Park Jae-moon, joins our hero. Hyun explains that Park is here to pick up the loot, which can be sold for money. Hyun-woo is surprised to learn that the loot is exchanged for money, but the surprise turns to shock when he finds out that the items are worth 20 to 35 million. Our hero fails to understand what use the loot could have for anyone. Hyun knows that he won't understand, but explains that the loot items are used to make armor or weapons. Park starts recording our protagonist's adventure and asks for permission. Although Hyun has no problem with it, he asks the purpose of recording. Hyun-woo is surprised to see that the videos are used to earn money through ad revenue and decides to do an 8-to-2 ratio partnership. The hunters continue their journey, and Hyun hands his friend a piece of paper. He explains to our protagonist that the dungeon is like a maze, and getting out of it becomes a problem. Hyun-woo takes a look at the map marked with different spots and throws it away, leaving his friend confused. Our hero approaches the giant tree and tells Park to take a picture of him. He gets close to the tree and swings a powerful punch at it, leaving Park and Hyun shocked in disbelief. The ground is instantly cleared of the obstacles, revealing the dungeon boss, the twin-headed ogre. Park, still recording, freezes in shock, unable to believe that our hero just created the path in one shot. He follows Hyun-woo in excitement after seeing his power. Hyun-woo runs towards the giant ogre and takes a leap, landing on the monster's shoulder. He punches the ogre in the face, knocking him down in one swing. Our protagonist stands on top of the fallen dungeon boss, and Park continues recording, crying in joy that his video is going to be viral. However, Shinchun gang continues spying on our hero. Meanwhile, at the Ares Guild management office, Shinchun gang visits Chun Myung to inform him about his assignment. He tells the manager about our hero's overwhelming physical power without even using any skills or magic power. Shinchun gang admits that he was impressed by our hero's power, but at just a glance, he figured out a way to deal with him. Chun Myung informs his thug that Hyun-woo will be going to the Ares Guild's dungeon, Visible Swamp, and Shinchun gang find it the perfect opportunity to prepare for our hero's arrival. Meanwhile, our hero stands outside the Visible Swamp entrance. However, he feels something off and wonders if he's overthinking. Right then, Seo Yun texts to alert him about the Ares Guild. However, our protagonist can't understand why his friends are so worried because he doesn't care about the Ares Guild. Seo-yun worriedly asks Hyun-woo why he's going to the Ares Guild's exclusive dungeon. He answers that he has some business, and she asks him for more details. However, our protagonist doesn't plan to tell her just yet. Seo-yun asks him if he's trying to mess with the Ares Guild on purpose, and Hyun-woo answers yes. Worried about her friend, Seo-yun gets upset. She knows she's worrying for no reason. Knowing his stats and seeing the video of him attacking the dungeon makes it obvious that Hyun-woo can take care of himself. Even then, Seo-yun advises our hero to avoid people from Ares and take care of his business quickly. The Visible Swamp is an A-rank dungeon, and Seo-yun thinks that the Ares Guild will visit the dungeon on the day the boss monster spawns to raid the dungeon. Our hero appreciates the advice and assures his friend to not worry about him. However, now as he stands outside the Visible Swamp dungeon, he once again faces the Ares people. The Ares hunter faces off against Hyun-woo and threatens him against making Ares his enemy. Our protagonist remembers Seo-yun telling him to avoid these people, but with them constantly bugging him, it's impossible to do that. He calls out the thugs for all being the same, how they always look down on him and get beat up every time. Then when they realize the problem they're in, they just say the guild's name and start struggling. The hunter gets angry and runs to attack our hero with his sword, but just strikes the man down effortlessly and walks through the entrance. Hyun-woo steps through the gate and the monster awakens. He continues walking through the dungeon and the monster moves towards him. At last, our protagonist faces off against the dungeon boss, the mega alligator. Our hero remembers Seo-yun's lecture about the alligator's tough leather, his magic resistance, and how expensive the leather and the teeth are and starts smiling. Hyun-woo instantly attacks the mega alligator and knocks him out. He proceeds to rip the monster apart, but the alligator runs away. However, our hero refuses to let the alligator escape and grabs him by the tail. He decides to teach the boss monster about a little swing and starts swinging it around and throws him into the wall. The mega alligator grows angry and faces our hero once again. Shin Sun-gang observes the fight. The alligator takes a leap, and just as our hero prepares for the final showdown, chains suddenly wrap around his legs. With Hyun-woo tied in chains, the alligator opens its big jaws, and Shin Sun-gang waits for his death. However, just as the alligator closes in on him, Hyun-woo ducks down, and the alligator jumps into the swamp. Our hero looks down at the chains confused, and then Shin Sun-gang speaks up that it's a magic chain and a perfect tool to deal with him. Hyun-woo is confused when he sees the random man. The assassin jumps down to introduce himself and tells our hero that he was sent by the Ares Guild to deal with him. Our hero now understands that he faces an assassin. Shin Sun-gang speaks praises of our hero's strength when he swung the alligator around or knocked out the ogre in one hit. However, he doesn't understand why his opponent is so relaxed after being caught in a magic chain. Hyun-woo is confused, not knowing what the chain is supposed to do, but then he realizes he can't move at all. Shin Sun-gang says that it's a magic chain, and our hero needs magic power to get out of it. However, he needs magic power stronger than someone with A rank to break free. But since our protagonist just came out of the tower recently, he has no magic power. Even then, Hyun-woo is confused, unable to see the trouble. Shin Sun-gang grows frustrated, thinking that our hero is just trying to fool him. He thinks that, like everyone else, Hyun-woo too is just pretending to be calm and planning his next move. Our protagonist is still confused because he wasn't doing any of that. The assassin draws out his sword, ready to attack our hero. Just when he strikes with the sword, our hero raises his arm up, blocking the attack. Shin Sun-gang releases the venom explosion. A blast goes off, and smoke covers the air. The assassin thinks that he has done his job, but he's shocked when the smoke clears and Hyun-woo sits unscathed. Our hero doesn't know what his opponent did. The assassin freezes, not understanding why his attack didn't work. Right then, our hero starts moving, and the assassin's face is met with a punch. Shin Sun-gang is thrown into a tree. Hyun-woo walks up to him and says that he should have wrapped his whole body tightly in chains to stop him from moving. The assassin can't understand how his opponent is doing this. Our hero knows that Shin Sun-gang must be confused and tells him that the chains got loose and stopped functioning properly. He kicks the tree and lifts it up while the assassin is stuck to it. Our hero tells his opponent that he should be prepared to die if he planned to kill him. The mega alligator peacefully floats through the swamp, and suddenly, Shin Sun-gang falls on him. Hyun-woo throws the tree into the swamp, killing the alligator too. He stands by the swamp quietly, and suddenly, the system screen pops up, notifying our hero that he has proved himself, and the lowest tier information will be available to him now. Meanwhile, at the Ares Guild Management Department, Chung Myung is informed that his assassin has died. The assistant informs him that the tree that Shin Sung-gong was stuck in has sunk in the swamp, and although they couldn't confirm it, it's likely that he's dead. Chung Myung thinks that the monster must have eaten his assassin up. However, he had 2 S-rank stats and 7 skills. Seeing his capable assassin be easily killed by our hero annoys Chung Myung. Hyunwoo lies in the apartment and tries to sleep. Suddenly, he wakes up remembering the information window. The system screen reveals that our hero has been invited to be a temporary guardian in the system. He's confused, feeling something changed, but he doesn't know what all the stuff on the screen means. Hyunwoo thought that he'd be able to get information about the tower, but he doesn't know what the system inviting him means. He noticed the time at 9:30, and the invite came at around 2 p.m. Right then, Sure Hyun walks into the apartment, and our hero tells him to stop there. He opens the information window to test his new skill. After a little focus, Sure Hyun's information window appears. However, Hyunwoo can't see any stats because of his lowest tier authority. He curses out in anger, seeing his useless skill, confusing Sure Hyun, but then our hero recovers it, saying that he was just blabbering to himself. Our protagonist stares at the clock on his phone. As it nears 12 a.m., our hero thinks that the useless skill has definitely brought some change to him. He thinks that he should be able to find information about things like the tower after getting the system invitation. Right then, the clock turns to 12 o'clock, and the room gets dark. Hyunwoo suddenly finds himself teleported to a different space, and as he looks to his front, he sees a girl sitting at the desk before him. The girl calls our hero guardian and reveals that she's his assistant, Eve. Eve introduces herself and tells the guardian that she'll be seeing him as long as he's alive. Hyunwoo's mood lights up, realizing he has someone to talk to, and he can finally know why he's been stuck in the tower for 12 years. The two stare at each other silently, and then our hero speaks up, asking his assistant if she's going to explain everything. Eve is confused about what she needs to explain. Our hero gets angry and screams, asking if she invited him here to give him explanations. However, Eve calmly tells him that she can only answer him. Realizing that his assistant can only answer his question, our hero is struck with shock. He then proceeds to ask questions and starts by asking who locked him in the tutorial tower. Eve answers that she can't tell him that because he has the lowest tier of authority for information. She tells him that she can only answer him if he has a higher tier of information authority. Our hero's anger piles up, realizing that it's the same stuff his information window kept talking about. Annoyed, Hyunwoo asks his assistant if she'll be able to tell him who locked him in the tower once he has higher tier information. However, Eve answers him that she can't tell him that because of his lowest tier authority. He then asks to know what the tutorial tower is, but Eve again answers that she can't tell him that. He then asks why the tutorial tower was made, but gets the same answer. Our protagonist asks why the monsters appear and still gets the same answer. Tired of not getting any answers, his anger starts piling up, and he bumps Eve in the head. He starts screaming at her for inviting him here for no reason and starts laughing, thinking she just wanted to pull a prank on him. Eve speaks up that she's not telling him anything because he has the lowest tier of information authority, and Hyunwoo's anger grows even more. But then, Eve tells him that she can tell him something. She adds he's a guardian, and guardian refers to a defender. This answer still isn't enough for our protagonist, and he asks if she can give him something more important. The assistant answers that she can tell him about the things that a guardian has to do from now on. Hyunwoo gets frustrated that she's not telling him about the things he's curious about. But then, Eve tells him that he's a temporary guardian, and if he officially becomes a guardian, he'll be able to find out all the details even if he doesn't want to. Our protagonist gets curious about what he needs to do to officially become a guardian. Eve answers that in his area, a crevasse will open in 5 days. In the deepest ends of that place, he will find a key that can raise the tier of his information authority. By obtaining that key, our hero will become a real guardian. After passing the message, Eve upgrades Hyunwoo's skills and sends him back to his world. He stands in his apartment, staring at a system window, telling him to acquire the key. So, our protagonist decides to go all the way and become an official guardian to get the information he wanted. Meanwhile, our hero's friends are shocked to hear about the crevasse. They awkwardly stare at each other and ask him why he's asking about it all of a sudden. Hyunwoo is confused seeing everyone's reaction, and then Sure Hyun reveals that a crevasse is a huge disaster. Meanwhile, at the Ares Guild headquarters, Hyuk Sung-woo spirals out in anger, realizing that his best hunter in the management was defeated by Hyunwoo. Chung Myung silently stands, feeling ashamed. Sung-woo assures him he doesn't blame him and orders you to get everyone and crush our hero down if there's a way to do it. He offers you some money and orders him to get some mercenaries stronger than the one he sent before. Hyuk Sung-woo makes it very clear to his HR manager what he wants. You understands the orders, and Sung-woo decides to focus on the Tyrant Guild next. The Tyrant Guild in China continues to beat up the Ares members in a separate building. Realizing that things are not working according to his plan, Sungwoo's anger continues to pile up. Meanwhile, our protagonist's eyes light up in excitement, seeing the $2 billion ring. Won Hyung explains that stuff like this appears in a labyrinth very commonly. Hyunwoo is confused about the difference between a labyrinth and a dungeon. His friends explain that artifacts are found in a labyrinth, and the ring is also an artifact. Special resources or loot like spirit stones are found in dungeons after monsters die, but in a labyrinth's treasure trove, artifacts with good functions are found. Won Hyung tells his friend that the ring is enchanted. Our hero is amazed by the game-like function as he realizes that these objects are better than normal equipment. He observes the ring, and a system screen pops up telling him info about the ring. The system tells our hero that he can read the item description with his special skill. He decides to give it a try, and the information board pops up. However, the whole description is redacted because he has the lowest tier authority. Our hero is annoyed by the trashy and useless skill, but he decides to visit the labyrinth after his main mission. He returns the ring back to Won Hyung after confirming its price and focuses on the menu. Our protagonist reads the menu and decides to order all of it. His friends are shocked, thinking he won't be able to eat it all, but Won Hyung tells him to order everything he wants. Right then, Hyunwoo asks his friend what a crevasse is, shocking everyone again. While having their food, our protagonist learns that crevasse means the ground would suddenly crack, and countless monsters would come up. Seo Yun explains that countries like China and Germany experience crevasse and called it the Hell Gate. Thinking about how casually Eve mentioned it, Hyunwoo thought it was just something normal. However, he now wonders what would happen if something like that happened in Korea. The whole group falls into deep thought, and Hyun answers that although they can stop it, even the lowest C-rank crevasse will leave that area completely barren. Everyone knows their guilds, along with some others, will help out, but the Ares Guild will just send some weaklings and pretend to help out. Our protagonist tells his friends to eat a lot and relax for 4 days. When they ask what he means, all he tells them is that they'll find out soon. Meanwhile, at the airport, people notice the ground shake. Thinking it's an earthquake, people rush to leave, and suddenly, the ground cracks open. Meanwhile, a man in robes walks up to his master to inform him that the 9th floor has awakened. The master asks about our protagonist, but the man answers that he is not awakened yet. However, he adds that it won't be long before that, and our hero will receive an official title. The master finds the timing perfect and looks forward to seeing what our hero can do. At the Gimpo International Airport, the whole ground shakes, and people run in panic. Fire devours the area as the news reports the immediate evacuation order for the citizens within 5 kilometers. The airport is locked down in emergency, and the hunters from the association continuously join in to aid. Countless monsters continue to climb through the crevasse, and the situation worsens. With the airport on lockdown, the hunters face off against the monster. The rookies tremble seeing the giant ferocious monsters surround them. Their leaders tell them to be courageous, otherwise they'll die. He jumps in with his bind skill and protects his fellow from being attacked and slays the monster with his sword. The rookie starts thinking, but the leader tells him to focus on fighting for now. The hunters face the monsters, but seeing so many of them, they start cursing. The leader continues to cut through the monsters, but he knows that more will just keep surrounding him. The monsters continue to come through the airport, and the hunters need to do something. Suddenly, something grabs the hunters' attention, and as they turn around, they see a giant skeleton. The hunters start trembling in fear, seeing the A+ rank monster. They give up fighting knowing their death is inevitable. The skeleton raises his giant stick. The fighter faces off with his shield. The skeleton strikes the shield, but the hunter fails to block and is thrown flying into a car. The giant skeleton walks up to the injured hunter. The leader screams at his soldier to wake up, but he doesn't respond. Suddenly, the skeleton's head is smashed into bits as our hero jumps through the monster and lands into the crowd. All the hunters are left shocked. They notice his clothes and realize that it's none other than the famous advanced player, Kim Hyunwoo. The hero received a notification saying that he needs to acquire a key located deep in the crevasse at Gimpo Airport in order to prove himself, and the time remaining is 22 minutes, 32 seconds. Now, he has to explore the airport deeply. Meanwhile, the people standing beside are in shock witnessing how the hero manages to take down the skeleton in one go. Soon enough, he alerts those people about the monster behind them. Since the number of monsters is huge, he decides to step in quickly and help out a little even though the reinforcements are coming. The hero effortlessly lifts the giant hammer which the skeleton used earlier and throws it towards those monsters, slamming them down. Nearby humans are amazed over his absolute strength. They get excited realizing that, with the advanced player helping them, They have hope and can hold a little longer till the reinforcement comes. But to their surprise, the hero takes his run, leaving the rest to them since he is in a hurry. Their jaws drop as they see the hope running away. But with no choice left, they decide to put everything just to hang in a little. One of them helplessly questions this act of Hyunwoo. Things are slipping away because there is no end for the number of monsters, and all of them are tired. It's been very long since they have fought so many monsters than they can even handle. The fear of losing the people inside fires up them, and they're trying to manage things till the reinforcements come. Just then, Kim Shir-hyun from the Seoul Guild along with his guild members steps in slicing the monster. Seconds later, Lee Seo-yun shows up along with her Arung guild members, and the hope has returned with the arrival of Han Seo-kwan from Goguryeo Guild along with his allies. Seo-yun asks about the hero since he mentioned that he's going ahead, on which the guy informs her that he is already inside core. The fight begins, and everyone accelerates on the command of Seo-kwan. The monsters are flying to attack, but it is of no use in front of the powerful warriors. Shir-hyun is impressively wiping out the monsters in and out, while Seo-yun is helping to decrease their count using her lightning power. Everyone is putting their best to take down all those devils. Meanwhile, the hero finally reaches the way to Crevasse Core by wiping out the monsters in his way. There's a deep cave in which he decides to go first. The surprising part is that there is a way up to the surface for the monsters to get on the ground. The hero is struggling to think of a way to get down there, but suddenly he notices a car stuck nearby and uses its door as a shield as well as a weapon to step in the cave. He flies down, destroying those monsters, and finally finds the way to the bottom of Crevasse. He lands at the pile of dead monsters he throws after killing. Soon enough, a bulky giant red monster walks out of the shadows with a key on him. Hyunwoo understands that's the key he needs to get his hands on and confidently charges at him, but ends up getting hit. Out of shock, when he's trying to understand the situation that has happened to him, he again receives a powerful strike. The hero somehow manages to dodge him and slams him down to the ground, but the monster again charges forward, cursing Hyunwoo in his own language. He blocks both the punches from the hero and instead throws him backwards. It is clear that this monster is stronger than the hero thought it would be, and he is very different from the earlier monsters. It makes the hero decide to use his martial arts skill, which he hasn't used in a while and didn't want to use it ever again. Hyunwoo recalls his memory when he was stuck in the tutorial tower laying down, helplessly thinking about the enlightenment by which one can get out. He desperately ran into the monsters and tried his best. This is how he started training in martial arts. This is something that one can see on TV, movies, and novels. But it doesn't make any sense because according to the hero, what's important is the thought that he will be the greatest if he becomes the master and achieves enlightenment. At first, he followed whatever clumsy techniques he knew, which were all useless, until one day he used a useless technique, and the accumulated stats made the thing he did into something real after being stuck into the tower and clearing it hundreds of times. The dark past he didn't want to use again. He uses his instant killing punch technique, and with full force he punches that giant red monster to the ground. Hyunwoo is glad that no one is around because he is embarrassed due to his habit of shouting out the names of techniques he uses. The system confirms his success of catching the Crimson Demon Archer, and the changes have been made in his status window. He is also officially invited to become a member of the system as a guardian, and he has only one day to accept this offer. Just then, he notices a drone flying over his head, which was actually streaming that fight of his. The Ares guild members watch his fight, and the branch manager shouts, insisting that the hero doesn't look like an A rank. Even after watching his fight, it is clear that he doesn't look like one. The manager claims that he is just a useless person with no magic who always wears his stupid tracksuit. He asks the manager to release all the data he asked him to gather as soon as it's ready. The next day, at the Korean Hunter Association branch, there's an awards ceremony going on for the hunters who fought the monsters at Crevasse. The hero is standing tall with confidence while everyone is roasting his bad attitude. The host presents the award to the hunter Kim Hyunwoo and mocks his tracksuit, mentioning that he suggested giving him some clothes, on which the protagonist calmly advises to not get worried about it. Everyone teases his overconfidence, and the host is standing triggered. Seconds after, Hyunwoo takes his run with his gifts without any hesitation, making them even more furious. At the outskirts of China's capital, Beijing, there is a tyrant guild supreme ruler castle. A mysterious girl with a skull tattoo on her back is watching Hyunwoo fight. Her eyes widens when she sees him doing that pose and asks his name from her assistant. The assistant mentions his name, and the girl instantly advises her to investigate his every information from the past. Later, a guy informs that mysterious girl about the subjugation of the Weon Guild, that they have succeeded in taking over all the major dungeons of South. He further explains that one of their executives is kidnapped, and the doubt is on Ares' guild since they had been in the hot water with them earlier. The girl doesn't like their executives being defeated by Ares' mere likes, and mentions that there would be no place for them if they didn't make it back here on their own. She comments to increase the takeover speed since it is bothering her that they are struggling just to take over a minor dungeon. Later, Hyunwoo's friends inform him that he has become famous. He notices the headlines on news, which were terrible, and mentions how these reporters haven't changed even after 12 years. But his friends insist that the reporters are supposed to do so because of the way he walked out after receiving his reward and his stupid tracksuit. Soon enough, the hero mentions that he has an appointment and takes his leave. Seo-yeon is worried about him because he has made so many enemies. They discuss his conflict with Ares in the media, even though it's not been very long since he came out of the tower. But one of them insists not to worry about the hero because he is a stronger individual. Meanwhile, the hero accepted the invitation earlier from the system and teleports to somewhere. His assistant, Eve, expresses her greetings before sitting right in front of him. Hyunwoo asks her if his information authority has increased, which informs him that it has been increased from lowest tier to low tier. The hero is burning up with anger and snaps at her, but she's actually providing the information that she has been taught about. The gray-haired girl calms him down and informs that since he is officially a guardian now, he can achieve what he wants just by completing the task. Basically, he has been appointed to stop the climbers from climbing the tower. The hero misunderstood this tower as the tutorial tower, but she explains that this one is different, consisting of 12 floors, including Earth. He has to protect the 9th floor from the 12th, which is Earth. The hero is questioning his life and cries because he is tired of doing continuous work. AV insists him to protect his place, or else it will be destroyed, on which he shouts at her for forcing the outcomes. AV shakes her head, trying to relax him, saying that it's not what she meant, then settles on saying she never told him to shut up. Hyunwoo's color went white as he stared at the sky, inquiring what she wanted him to do, and told her to say it properly. AV looks down, thinking how she is the system administrator of the 9th floor, so she should be intimidating enough to get her say in. She anxiously calls out his name, then flusters when he repeats hers. She ends up telling him not to get so angry because the reason he got chosen as the guardian is for his sake, and that it is to help him, then tries to bribe him, telling him that there are rewards because the more climbers he stops will be counted as his contribution, which will bring him rewards. Hyunwoo stares at her, then asks her in simple words that if he wants to know who locked him in the tower after making the tutorial tower, how much authority for information does he have to acquire? AV answers that it would require him to get high-tier information authority for that kind of information. Hyunwoo asks again that if he kills those climbers during their journey, will that increase his tier? After an affirmative nod from AV, he asks for the amount of climbers he has to kill in order to do that. AV shows hesitation, saying that it will be hard to know since even climbers have ranks, so roughly it would take him 5 high-rank climbers, and that would be enough to get him the high-tier information authority. Hyunwoo requires more information like what rank the Crimson Demon Archer that he killed was. AV answers that it was a low-rank climber. Hyunwoo nods, roughly understanding everything. Hyunwoo sits in his house, staring at his status, thinking that the Earth being a tower is complete nonsense, or him saving the Earth is nonsense. He decides to not waste his time and brain cells over these complicated situations. Instead, he's going to focus on one thing, which will be to find out who locked him in here, so he will even crush those climbers to know that. Just then, a call from Seo-yeon interrupts him. She worriedly told him to open his television. Upon opening his TV, Hyunwoo sees his name plastered with news saying that the public opinion about him has shifted because Hyunwoo Kim, who played an important role during the crevasse crisis, has killed a member of Ares' guild after a number of related incidents. Hyunwoo laughs at the news, asking what this new drama is about. Hyunwoo lay in his house in the Mokdong neighborhood, his phone ringing like crazy. Seo-yeon let out a shriek, asking for an explanation about who might have caused all this. She called Hyunwoo a celebrity just because he came out of the tower after 12 years. She listed how only a few days ago he cleared the crevasse by himself, which caused all countries to monitor him, and now he was getting accused of murder. She expressed her worries, saying she had been feeling nervous since he told her about his problems with Ares. Hyunwoo rolled his eyes, telling her to relax and not worry, which only made So-yeon even more annoyed, telling him to stop telling her not to worry. Hyunwoo realized how this felt oddly like getting scolded by a wife, which was weird because he didn't remember ever having a girlfriend, let alone a wife. He turned towards Seo-yeon and called her out, saying she must have a crush on him, and if his assumption was correct, she should just be honest and confess. Hearing that, Seo-yeon slowly inhaled and exhaled, then smiled creepily, confirming that she would simply fry him with her lightning if he ever thought about making another joke like that. He laughed awkwardly, trying to lighten the mood, thinking it was better to leave the topic before he said something worse. Sehun got up and showed him all the missed calls from the Hunter Association, expressing that it was his first time seeing so many missed calls. Then he showed him the status board, showing that Hyun-woo was in first place again. Si-hoon started reading an article stating that Kim Hyun-woo, along with his 3 guild leaders, had similar tendencies toward murder, making Si-hoon's eyes go red with anger. Hyun-woo tried to stop Si-hoon from making scary faces at him, but Si-hoon replied that he was shocked by Hyun-woo's lack of concern when all of their reputations were being ruined. Hyun-woo asked whether Seo-yeon and Si-hoon had arranged the reporters for him, shocking Seo-yeon and Si-hoon as they nervously asked if he was even prepared. Hyun-woo looked amused that they thought he would go to a press conference without preparation. Seo-yeon advised him not to beat up the reporters or accept that he would destroy the Aries Guild. Hyun-woo looked at them and asked if that was really what they thought of him. Meanwhile, Aries Guild's leader inquired about the current situation with Kim Hyun-woo. HR manager informed him that Hyun-woo's face was all over the news and social media, successfully shifting public opinion and assuring that things were not looking good for Hyun-woo in any way. The leader thought about how he needed to be one step ahead to get rid of him completely. The guild leader thought about how something he barely believed possible had been done by Kim Hyun-woo, but in the end, it worked in their favor and became a huge disadvantage for him. At the Mokdong press conference, Hyun-woo sat confidently as the reporters began asking questions, whether the recent news was true or the reason behind his attack on the Aries Guild member. Hyun-woo let out a breath, stating clearly that it was his first press conference, so he would just do what he thought was right, then ordered one of the reporters to ask the first question. The reporter asked how Hyun-woo was feeling now, to which he casually answered that he felt like crap. When another reporter straightforwardly asked if he had actually killed the Aries member, he nodded his head, telling them to judge him however they wanted, but first listen to the recording. He stated he didn't know the reason behind all of this, but he remembered refusing Aries Guild's offer to recruit him. He played the voice recording, where the deceased person confessed that he was an assassin sent by Aries Guild to kill him. After the fierce fight, Hyun-woo stopped the recording right before the moment the incident happened, leaving the reporters speechless. He calmly informed them that he knew they were tipped off by Aries Guild itself. He explained that he had gone there to defeat the boss monster, and that the members simply followed him. One reporter accused him of forging the recording, but Hyun-woo pulled out another phone from his pocket, stating that it belonged to the man he had killed in the swamp. He added that he wasn't able to open it since it was locked, but if he entrusted it to a security company or the police, the truth would eventually come out. He then added his verdict, that he did not have a choice since the assassin was already there to kill him. Since he was just a newbie who had only just come out of the tower, he did what he knew best, which was to defend himself. However, the assassin who was sent to kill him got tangled with the dungeon's boss monster, the mega alligator, which resulted in his death. The reporters screamed, accusing him that he just confessed to killing him. Hyun-woo calmly replied that it could be seen like that because he had let his guard down while fighting him, and he ended up dead. He also shared how Aries Guild had its own reputation, which was why he didn't say anything, but he didn't know things would escalate this far. The press conference ended, leaving Hyun-woo thinking how complicated all of this had become. And then he checked the new articles reporting about Aries and their fabricated lies. The leader of Aries Guild threw his things in anger, cursing Hyun-woo for pulling such a move during the press conference. Then he started laughing, calling him dumb, someone who knew nothing about how this world worked, promising himself that he would get to him one way or another. At the end, the friends followed Hyun-woo as Si-hoon asked how he came up with the idea of recording him, since it seemed like he already knew what was going to happen. Seo-yeon added how surprising it was when Hyun-woo brought out the dead assassin's phone, making all her worries meaningless now. Hyun-woo smiled and confessed that he lied about having the assassin's cell phone with them. The 3 of them stared at him, asking why he lied at the press conference. He took out the phone and showed it to them, stating that it didn't belong to the assassin, but to Si-hoon, who often changed his phone. He then informed them that he took their advice, since they always told him how dangerous Aries was. So he had been recording like that, but didn't know it would actually be useful someday. Seo-yeon couldn't help but be worried, asking what would happen if they actually asked for the phone. Hyun-woo calmed her by saying that it was Aries they were talking about. So before the security team, the guys from Aries were going to inspect it anyway. So he just made sure they knew not to mess with him anymore. Seo-yeon soon started laughing lightly, saying that Hyun-woo suddenly looked cool with his worries. The Aries Guild, with its headquarters in America and labyrinths all over the world, was known to have its Korean branch holding the highest number of dungeons. He started waiting and thinking about what Aries' next move would be, since they had a lot to lose if he got them involved. Later at night, Hyun-woo sent Si-hoon away, telling him that he would take a stroll alone. Si-hoon believed that he was capable of taking care of himself and loved roaming his own way. It took only a few minutes before Hyun-woo found himself surrounded by cloaked members of the Aries Guild. He added that he was waiting for them. The masked man ordered him to follow them. Hyunwoo realized it might be Aries higher-ups looking for him, and asked what would happen if he said no. The masked man answered that they would drag him out. Hyunwoo smiled, successfully provoking them as they all began striking him one by one. He only stood there smiling, but none of their attacks reached his body. The masked men tried again, but found themselves locked around Hyunwoo. Hyunwoo stood still as the masked men started squirming, confused as to why their attacks weren't working on him. Hyunwoo moved his head, fighting one by one with precise, measured strikes until the last man began begging him to let him live. Hyunwoo nodded, sparing his life, but ordered the man to take him to whoever was looking for him. At the outskirts of Gwangju province, the same masked men conversed while guarding the underground bunker. One of them pointed out how their guild liked to waste money on building such things. The other quickly told him to stop being ungrateful, reminding him that these shelters were keeping them, the murderer hunters, alive under their protection. Their conversation drifted to how another of their partners was bringing a big name in today, Hyunwoo. The first man answered that he had seen Hyunwoo's face plastered all over the media, and joked that they didn't need anything more than to drag him here and give him a good beating. The man beside him added that they would probably get to use the new torture devices on him. A loud crash interrupted them as Hyunwoo stood still, dragging the beaten masked men, and asked if this was the place. After a lot of punches and kicks thrown at the babblers outside the bunker, the leader finally insisted and got Hyunwoo's attention, asking what all the noise was about. The other masked men took positions in front of the elevator, raising their guards high. Hyunwoo walked calmly in, asking questions about the building and how much this whole setup would have cost them. The man in a suit moved forward, demanding his name and why he was there. Hyunwoo smirked and answered that he was the Grim Reaper sent upon them to send them to the afterlife. In an unknown cell, the pink-haired girl sat beaten, surrounded by men. The leader of Ares Guild indicated that she should think about her life and start telling them the answers, since the Pato Guild had apparently abandoned her. He tried again to press her for their weaknesses and inside information, but she only smiled. The leader ordered his men to take her back and give her more beating. One of the men came forward, replying that they could just kill her today, but the leader gave a cold shrug and said he didn't care about that. Just then the door burst open and Hyunwoo entered. He looked around for the person who had invited him, and then at the tied-up girl. He wore a sad expression as he called out, accusing them of being busy with other guests after summoning him. The leader questioned about the team. Hyunwoo answered that they were all taking a nap in the back, just like the men inside the building. Hyunwoo gave a guy two choices: talk to him or get beaten into a pulp. The Ares leader ran outside of the bunker, looking at the men lying on the ground and freaking out. Another masked man tried to sneak an attack on Hyunwoo, but he caught him and sent him flying with a kick. The man groaned in pain as the leader looked around. Hyunwoo stared, pointing out that he had only visited since he was invited. Yet everyone was so hostile toward him, adding that it was starting to make him angry. The leader stared at him, thinking about how the men here were all B-grade, and on top of it, all the murderer hunters sent to bring Hyunwoo were on their way to becoming A-grade hunters, while the ones guarding the bunker were A-class hunters. He realized that he already knew Hyunwoo was strong, but when he heard that Hyunwoo cleared the rift solo, he assumed it was probably beginner's luck that let him win over a low-grade boss. In reality, Hyunwoo was an S-grade hunter. Not only that, but a high-rank S-grade hunter. He started calculating his chances of beating him in a fight with his mid-rank S-grade gear. But Hyunwoo interrupted his thoughts, ordering him to hurry and choose between the two options he gave. The leader's mind clicked and started running toward Hyunwoo while cursing at him, but then came back to his senses after taking a deep breath and decided they would talk instead. They sat in front of each other at a round table. The leader pondered over the fact that he still had things to find out about the other guilds, and then until he figured out Hyunwoo's exact capabilities, it was best to deal with the situation cautiously. Hyunwoo blinked at him, demanding compensation. The leader looked at him with a dumbfounded expression. Hyunwoo added that he wanted compensation for all the trouble caused by the Ares Guild, listing that they sent an assassin to murder him, then the news channels rambling about his alleged murder while they used the media to scare him off. Hyunwoo added that he wouldn't forget these incidents. The leader asked what he wanted, and Hyunwoo replied with a smile, demanding 10 million won along with a few of their low-level dungeons. The snapped out of his shock and slammed his fist on the table, calling the demands ridiculous. But Hyunwoo argued that they were completely reasonable since they were the ones who went berserk on him. The leader cursed him in his mind while calculating that he could manage 10 million won, but his request for 2 dungeons meant he wanted to take over their property and the newer hunters. Hyunwoo added another 5,000 won because of the leader's slow reaction. The leader calmed down and tried a softer approach. He said that if this was the amount of money Hyunwoo wanted, then their contract could offer him much more and asked why he rejected the first place. He continued, If Hyunwoo joined Aries Guild today, all his needs would be